Welcome to Dollars and Cents with your host, Jeff Davis and Chris Coleman from Falcon Financial Management.
Good morning, Gainesville, Ocala. It is Saturday, December 1st, and you're listening to Dollars and Cents with your hosts, Jeff Davis and Chris Coleman. Jeff Davis, certified financial planner, president of Falcon Financial Management, creator of the integrated wealth management process, and a man recognized by Barron Magazine as one of the top 500 independent advisors in the country. Also a recent nominee into the University of Florida Athletic Hall of Fame. My name's Chris Coleman. I'm an investment advisor representative and a gentleman who's going to eat some crow today. A pretty healthy serving, I'm sure. And behind the glass, we have Lisa Meadows. Lisa, are you mic'd up back there?
Yes, I am. I sure am.
You know, it just wouldn't be a Saturday if I didn't say, how you doing?
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
I'll still catch the bagels. I just got to be a better catch.
Oh, gotcha. You know,
practice my catch.
I'll try to throw arc instead of the low projectile, 80 mile per hour fastball.
Speedball like Babe Ruth. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Should you guys explain what you're talking about?
I'm sorry, Jeff didn't know. We got to tell Jeff.
Oh, you were here.
I might have been, but the people who are listening weren't.
Oh, well.
You remember, this is radio, not TV.
Details.
I've been told I have a face for radio, but we don't have to go that far.
I was reminded of that this week on more than one occasion. that was cold. We've traditionally, you and I have a little pregame warm-up with bagels from the Bagel Bakery. Ken Rembert. Fantastic bagel experience. And we traditionally bring bagels in because they're here working. And we slide in the studio, slide into the chairs, grab the mic, and throw the bagel. Well, first time Lisa said, hey, here comes the bagel. And I threw the bagel just barely over the top of the glass, which is about eye level. And it just, almost took her head off. And you made comment like, you could throw that with a little arc instead of, so.
Yeah.
That's it, folks. I almost took out our producer one time with a bagel to the face.
And last week you had our wonderful former producer on the show, Chocolate Thunder himself, the Florida State fan.
The return of. He did a quality job.
He did, but I understand he actually even got here after you.
He did. I was going, what am I going to do now?
So many times he sat over there going, hey, you guys got to get here earlier, And there, his first chance. And the Thunderman, what does he do?
I think he was probably parked right around the corner. He just sent some payback. I want to show these guys what that feels like. But he did a good job. We upheld a long-standing promise that one day we would do that. And here's the part.
Yeah, Texas Playboy here.
By the way, folks, I've been married 21 years, and so
right.
Not a Playboy, but I appreciate the nickname.
Well, the Texas Playboys were all married anyway, weren't they?
I don't know.
I
don't know that I could name a single tune.
Oh. Well, I bet that somebody will be able to tell us some tunes from the Texas Playboys in just about 30 seconds.
Did you have to put her on the clock?
I did. Well, hey. But I was stunned. I just couldn't get back on the phone. My fingers were shaking so much when I heard your prediction.
I know.
On the Gator game. I mean, it was just you're lucky lightning didn't strike you when you walked out of the studio. And that might have been Lightning Jones that was the one that was going to strike you. Boy,
well, make no doubt I'm a Florida fan, but the more logical side of me says, they're not going to do it. I don't see it. I think I had predicted my heart was going to pick a score of 5-3 for the Gators, with the Gators stealing second. Yeah, you did. But I thought that Florida State would win, and I think I picked 21-13 or something like that. And I was so happy to be wrong. You know what? You can grief me all the way to next season.
Okay.
Because it was worth it to watch that game.
I will then.
All right. like I could stop you anyway. The bus is coming. Just relax.
That wasn't a bus. That was an intentional drone strike.
Wow, well done. You've got some good analogies today.
Thank you.
You were just rolling them off.
I'm sitting on top of the world.
I'm sitting on top of the world.
The original rendition of that.
Sitting on top of, how's that go?
I'm sitting on top of the world.
It's like beat, melody. Let's hear it.
Yeah,
sorry. You wouldn't ask me to sing, and I appreciate
that one.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Corina, Corina.
I know that tune.
Remember that
Yeah,
song?
you
yeah,
go.
yeah. All right. So when I do some Groove Shark here, I'm gonna put in some Texas Playboys.
Groove Shark, a Gainesville institution created by Gainesville High School's best.
Outstanding. Speaking of GHS, they won last night. They're like one game away from the state championship.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Did they win the state championship last year?
No, but the team they beat last night was the team they lost to last year, and I don't know the details of that game, but apparently it was a heartbreaking loss, and they extracted some revenge to the tune of like 42-10, I think. If I was flipping through the sports page quickly this morning, and it's they're all over your sports. So pick up your local paper, and you can read all about GHS.
Or go online at Gainesville.com and you can read the Gainesville Sun online.
Very, very well said, sir.
Which is, my next door neighbor is Rod Cunningham. Rod, I want some money for, the advertising I'm doing for you here.
Or at least bagels. In a typical Saturday morning fashion of random conversation, at the office, you've been receiving a lot of the same questions from folks and concerns in regards to, exactly what is the fiscal cliff, how's that going, and what's going to happen with tax rates. Yeah. And we're molding the idea of a potential meeting for folks.
Right. January the 29th at the Millhopper Library from 6:30 to 8. You're invited. You'll need to contact our office at 352-375-7977. The invitation or the announcement isn't up on our website yet, but I guess Rochelle had, she's being the slacker she is. She had surgery on Thursday and she wasn't at work on Friday. I don't understand it, but...
I took the van over and we tried to get her hospital bed in the van, and they didn't. The opening wasn't big enough. We couldn't wheel her to her desk.
Get her out and walk her. You think anybody really puts, you have surgery and like 30 minutes later, they're waking you up and going, it's time for you to go home. But didn't I just have my heart replaced? Yeah, well, okay, we'll give you another 15 minutes.
They removed hooks from her spine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that wasn't, I told you
Lisa,
guys,
I'm going to need a knife, a shot of whiskey, and a bullet, and we're going to do this on Jeff here. See how he holds up.
Well, now, when I was, I had in 1976, I had my career-ending injury.
This is a good story.
In early February, I broke my thumb really badly and had to put it all back together with screws and things. And so it was 8 weeks. It was 76. So it was the Olympic year. And it was I thought of it as one of my last chances. Well, I was 24. And in the 1970s, you didn't have the kind of support. You got guys that are in their late 20s, early 30s that are, that's the Olympians today. They're guys 10 years older than I was. But there was no way to, in those days, there was no money and there was no support. The Olympic Committee didn't have a subsidy. Now they give a subsidy to get people, the top 6 wrestlers are all getting money to be able to train for an Olympic spot. They fly them all over the world. They take care, none of that happened. In 76, if you took a pair of shoes from ASICS, you could lose your eligibility. When they said amateur, you couldn't take anything. So it was really tough to try and train in those days. So I was the assistant wrestling coach at Florida and going to graduate school and trying to train. I broke my hand, got that fixed. 8 weeks later, I come back on the mat. 2 weeks after that, I land on the point of my shoulder and just 3rd-degree AC separation. And it was a mess. They had to put screws in it to pull it back together. That was the end of my wrestling career. I'm just tired of getting hurt and having to rehab. It was, once you start falling down and break all the time, it's time to move on.
She did a good job of first time I heard the other explaining that injury, where all the things that hold your shoulder up, all the bands and muscles and tendons that come together right there or meet at one point, and there was
right. I landed right on the point of the shoulder. It's AC,
Gesundheit.
Yes, it's your the front, your collarbone and the bone in the back, and you land on it and they separate. That's what a shoulder separation is. Those bones separate, and how badly it's separated is a 1st degree or 2nd degree or 3rd degree. So when you see a football guy get a shoulder separation, that's what it is. Those bones are pulled apart. mine were ruptured, and the ligaments, tendons, everything. And but this was 8:30 at night. I got hurt, and by 6 o'clock the next morning, they were operating on my shoulder. Put screws in it. About 10 weeks later, I'm scheduled to come in and get the screws out. And I'm a single guy in those days, and so I pack my little bag, and one of the guys in the front house drives me to the hospital. You want me to come in with you? No, just check with me later. And I'm they're going to take the screws out today, and I guess I'll be coming home tomorrow. And so I take my little bag upstairs, and I'm going up to the doc, who's had been a running back for North Carolina, and he was just, he was a bruiser of a guy. And
the guy you want in charge of your pain management.
Yeah,
you can tough it out.
Actually, he was pretty good. He took one look at me in the emergency room, and he said, "Is it hurt?" I said, "No, not that bad." He says, "It's going to. Give him some pain medication." You really did a job on this one. Oh, boy.
So you got your bag.
Yep, I'm up there. He's getting ready, and he says, "All right, well, we're going to take out the screws now." And I said, "Well, aren't you going to give me anesthesia? I mean, I haven't even been admitted to the hospital yet." No, we're just going to take the screws out. And I got my bag. No, we're just going to take the screws out. Well, how are you going to do this? Oh, we're going to take this, and we're going to just make a little slit right across the top here. I'm going to get a little topical pain med for you. And then he breaks out a big old silver screwdriver, stainless steel screwdriver. That's it. Yeah. Throws these 2 screws in the little container and
popped it right through there.
Put a couple of little steri strips on there. I said, "You're good to go." You're not putting me in the hospital? No, it's all done. So I was, I didn't see any reason why, Rochelle couldn't tough it out. If I could, tough it out with just a little topical pain meds and walk right out of the hospital, a hook or 2 and, the rods in her back, tough it out. Nancy has had this problem also, right?
Oh, she's got a Harrington rod, and hers runs all the way from, her entire spine, from her neck down to her, I guess, tailbone. Yeah. I didn't get the medical training that you did in wrestling.
I see.
Yeah.
Harrington rods are?
If you have scoliosis, it's basically because your spine starts to curve. It can press, your key organs internally up against your ribs, and hers was severe enough that when she was 14 years old, you know what a critical time that is for kids, that they were, we got to do this. And she was early in the process of that. They removed her spine. She got a rod there. That's why she has perfect posture, which is one of the things I first noticed about Nancy. Look at the posture on that woman.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So it goes, what Rochelle has is a group of rods. It's not one long run. They were trying to fix one section, and they put the rods down in her lower component. Then time went on. This is we're going to have to do this in the upper component. So she's got sections of rods. And I think what she had to do recently was the way they had done the upper section of rods had some hooks that attached in the upper component of her spine. And they said those got to come out.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, do boys get scoliosis too, or is it just a girl thing?
Oh, yeah. I think it's indiscriminate.
Huh. Well, that's interesting. Well,
yeah. We've done the medical 15 medical minutes here.
I was going to say.
I'm going to throw out a phone number. There's no telling what could happen.
Oh, okay.
Phone number is 877-975-9825. That's 877-975-9825. We ventured briefly into the realm of having a meeting on January 29th at the library.
We started to talk about that, didn't we? How did we get? I think it was the Texas Playboy. He's over there, got his Karina.
Well, we did that.
Okay.
We created that distraction.
Okay. We've been known for distractions. We really work hard not to be distracted. Caution, distractions. It's like that's like the headline of everything on my office.
Well, with the news today, the world's all about distractions.
What happened?
Well, we were talking about having this meeting about in relation to the fiscal cliff.
January 29th.
Yeah,
6:30 to 8. We're inviting all of our clients, but this is going to be a town hall meeting. It's going to be simple, Bring your own coffee cup, we'll have coffee. Bring your own napkins, we'll have cookies.
And the finest cookies Publix can prepare.
That's right. We're gonna, but it'll be simple.
Yeah.
Because it's all about Dan Chalmers from Stormont Chalmers is going to talk about what we're doing it in January because we want to see what happens during December in the negotiations about this fiscal cliff, which the negotiations to me are a joke. I'll just say that. I mean, they can't. Neither side can be is serious about this problem. We're going over only a miracle will keep us from going over the fiscal cliff. And as we go over the fiscal cliff, I would like to say that as I was talking to one of my clients last night, who was a doctor, and he was in the office, and I think I've said this to you before. I'm a worst case scenario kind of a guy. If I got a little lump on my arm, I must have cancer, and they're going to have to cut my arm off. I'm going to die. If I've got a fever, I've got jungle fever, and I'm going to die. It doesn't matter. Whatever the worst case scenario.
Hence your return to work policy, because you're going to die anyway.
That's right.
Get as much done as you can before. I'm sorry.
That's why Rochelle should have been at work. So, I think we are applying that philosophy to the fiscal cliff. I think, and it's not physical; it's fiscal. FIS. The fiscal cliff is if by January 1st we haven't reached an agreement about taxes, the Bush tax cuts expire. So Dan Chalmers will be there to talk about the income taxes. And then in addition to that, we also are going to have estate tax issues because some of the gift tax exclusions that we have today are going to go away. The estate tax exclusion limit, which today is $5 million. That means you can exclude $5 million, your first $5 million of your estate from estate taxes drops back down to $1 million. There's a lot of people at $1 million. Now, so Kevin's going to talk about estate taxes, and I'm going to talk about the economy. So we're going to be talking about the economic conditions. We're going to be talking about what these things are going to mean to the economy. And we hope that by the beginning of January, we'll have a sense of what's happening. A better sense than we have today, because there is no known answer. The fiscal cliff is probably not going to be as bad as we think it might be. We tend to think it's going to be the end of the world. It's going to be a lot of people think it's going to be a cataclysmic event in the stock market. We're going to go over the fiscal cliff January 1st, January 2nd. The stock market will be down 30%. Don't believe that's going to happen. I do think that it's a real concern, and it's going to be it's going to have a very sobering effect, because if Bush tax cuts go away and are not replaced with something else, then everybody's taxes go up. So everybody's going to have to pay more taxes. The estate tax limits are going down for everybody, not just rich or poor, everybody. And people who don't think of themselves as rich. We had a client in yesterday morning and was talking about his dad's farm in Iowa, 200-acre farm in Iowa. And when he died, 4 boys, they had to come up with $80,000 in estate taxes, because that's how much estate tax was due on the family farm.
I seem to recall when they were talking about raising the exclusion limit to $5,120,000, that was a big component of how they got that through was the farms. J.C. Watts out of Oklahoma was a big proponent of helping getting that pushed through, because family farms were being
they had to sell the family farm so that the boy, they were all young at that point and they didn't have $80,000. The only way they could get it was to be able to sell the family farm. I tell the story about Joe Robbie. Joe Robbie did no estate planning.
Joe Robbie, who owned
the Miami Dolphins and the stadium. Mm-hmm. When he died, they had the state taxes had to be paid in 9 months. So you had a fire sale. They sold the stadium and the football team so that they could raise enough money to pay the estate taxes. So, estate taxes can be devastating to people of wealth and people that aren't that wealthy. And that's one of the reasons the exclusion limit had gone up. But it's going down to 1 million if they don't solve that problem by January the 1st. In addition to that, we have what's called sequestration. That is the automatic cuts that are supposed to be applied to the domestic and the defense sides. So all of these things are basically happening at the same time. What's going to be the effect on the economy? If it happens, I think it's going to slow the economy. But an awful lot of people are talking about that today the Republicans would just as soon go over the fiscal cliff. The Democrats would just as soon go over the fiscal cliff. They don't seem to be seriously talking about it.
A lot of blaming of each other.
Pointing fingers is a science in Washington.
It is.
But when if the Democrats will achieve higher taxes on the top 2 or 3%, and when they do that, it's going to make that's one of the Mr. Obama ran on the idea of raising taxes.
That whole just on the 2%. We've talked about that before. It's if this happens, everybody's taxes
go up, even the poorest of the poor.
Which kind of makes me, if the Democratic Party had such a stronghold over the lower and middle income individuals, based on the idea we're only going to tax them, and they see their taxes go up. Fiscal cliff's one thing. Is this a political fiscal cliff?
Well, the Democrats will blame the Republicans, and the Republicans, there's more guys like Ted Yoho that are congressmen today.
Mm-hmm.
And Ted Yoho, I don't think, is going to vote for higher taxes.
Oh, I think there was an article in the paper this week that he was the one who kind of held his guns. Just all right.
It's what
it's what they brought me here for.
Yeah.
Let's go. I got my seatbelt and parachute, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I think and there's 100 guys like him, 100 men and women like him in Congress. They're going to have to make some decisions to apply this whole discipline of getting us back on track fairly, which means there's everybody's got to give a little. When the Democrats are unhappy and the Republicans are equally unhappy, you're probably in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
When everybody's angry about what we're doing, we probably are back in the middle. So if anybody's happy and the other side's sad, we got a win-lose situation. We got to find a win-win situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be difficult, but it's the reality of this. I think an awful lot of people made decisions about the election, not on economics, but on specific issues. If you're sending my grandmother back to Mexico, I don't care what else you say. If I'm gay and you don't believe in gay marriage, that's it. If you say I'm not supporting abortions and Planned Parenthood, if you're a young single woman who's been using Planned Parenthood, then you're just, you're not going to vote for the guy who's going to get rid of it. And the economics got pushed aside. So those social issues, the people who made those decisions, some other people said, if you don't take care of the economics, you can't take care of them. And that's how you end up with 48% saying one thing and 51% saying, no, we want to do this. It's an evenly divided country for all of these issues. Now we've got, the reality is, Mr. Obama is going to be our president, and I hope he has a great presidency.
Hear, hear.
Because if he does well, we do well.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like the way it's starting because this is looking painful to me.
Yeah.
I don't expect you're going to see the stock market plunge off the cliff on January 1st. So when my clients or if you're listening today, if you're wondering, should I be selling everything and going to cash today? I think that's an overreaction. I might be wrong half the time, but I don't think that that's something that you really need to be that concerned about. I think that this whole fiscal cliff has been priced into the price of stocks already. So I don't expect that to happen. I do expect the GDP to slow, which could send us into a recession. A recession doesn't mean the stock market has to go down 20%. Remember, the definition of a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. A bear market, on the other hand, has nothing to do with the GDP. It has to do with seeing the stock market drop 20%. So once it's dropped 20%, we have a bear market. I can tell you in 2013, there will be a bear market. I don't know when it's going to be, but there was one in 2012. There was one in 2011. There was one in 2010. Even though those were pretty good years in terms of returns for the stock market, you had times when we dropped, the stock market went down 20% at one point during the year. And at some point in 2013, it will go down.
And there's that fear that there's so many things that have been building up. The idea that for the longest time that large companies, large amounts of money have been sitting on the sideline waiting for the election to know what was going to happen. We've had a nice run since 2008. A lot has been recovered. In a lot of ways, we're just due, regardless of if all this was going on. I mean, the markets go up and down. It happens. Yeah.
I know. Well, go ahead.
But all those things combined, when we go over at the beginning of the year, market due for a downturn, pricing that's already happened and built into it, draws back. Are people going to overreact of all these things potentially colliding?
Yes.
Yes.
And you'll probably see the stock market take a dip. Great time to buy. But, it's not necessarily a time to sell everything. If you're going to be in, just sit there. By the end of the year, I think you'll have a positive return. We have the ability to make decisions because of the computers, because we do our own trading. And in reality, two things that we know, and Aaron and I will be right with you. Two things that we only got 2 minutes left? Okay, let's go ahead and talk to Aaron then.
Aaron, thank you so much for your patience. How are you today?
I'm fine. I got a quick question. There's a lot of questions I could ask you. Do Mr. Obama know anything about economics? My question is, don't he realize that when you raise taxes on rich people, they get their money from poor people, so they pass on the cost of the taxes onto the poor people, and the government gets a little bit, you can get less money? I mean, if you want more of something, you tax it less. I mean, did he not take an economic course? Am I missing something or what?
Why, thank you for that comment, Aaron. Aaron, you need to be at our town hall meeting on January 29th because we're going to talk a lot about these things. And it's going to be at the Millhopper Library.
On 43rd?
On 43rd Street. I'm sorry, we're in our last 1 minute, Aaron, but I hope that you will also join us in our Predict the Dow contest, which is we're kicking off this Saturday. As we do every year, we have a Predict the Dow contest. You can call our office to get information about it. You can go to our website at ffmonline.com to get information about the Predict the Dow contest. We're asking people to predict the Dow. I think it's as of the 21st. We're down to 30 seconds. I got to talk fast. And we
25.
Oh, the pressure's getting to me. But the idea is predict the Dow, how the Dow's going to end on December the 31st. Whoever's closest to that, we're going to give $250 to a charity of your choice. And we hope that everybody will participate. My guess was 14,000. Ain't looking good right now. Chris, close us out.
Folks, if you'd like to call us at Falcon, 352-375-7977. That's 352-375-7977.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Join
Bye-bye.
us next week at this time for Dollars and Cents with Jeff Davis and Chris Coleman from Falcon Financial Management on News Talk 97.3 The Sky.